what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that are going to be affecting our agencies?
I think it's staffing.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Right now, while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
We took our notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies led Craig and I to selling more than $10 million in premium in the last 2 years.
On this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the same results.
Just go to live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
If you jump on this call with us, we're certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.
Culture. Culture.
Nice. I like that.
It was smooth.
Well,
That was smooth.
The reason, I took some coaching advice from Jason, and he said there's nothing wrong with taking your time. You don't need to just fill it up. A little quiet moment here in the middle of the broadcast is fine.
It's a moment of reflection.
Yeah, listen, look at that little moment of silence.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, yeah, nice and quiet. Everybody, take a breath.
This is going to turn into a meditation podcast.
Yeah. Close your eyes. I want you to visualize the stream. Okay, so your culture, right? We touched on this a little bit, right? Like where we bring in somebody and perhaps they have way too much makeup apparatus on their desk, and then it affects the culture, right? Because they're spending all their time playing Barbie instead of, or Ken, and they're spending all their time doing these things instead of actually doing the activity that we want to hold them accountable for. And that could be a culture buster, right? So what have you done to create a great culture there in your agency with who you have, and what kind of leadership are you putting in?
Well, being, and I'm not just saying this, being a dudette really helped that, because I didn't have clear and consistent processes for other people to follow. Like I knew what needed to be done. I could jump in and I could do it. And so it's a mixture of being a dudette and the training programs that are available, the agency training programs, or like, I don't want to get anybody in trouble for saying names, but there's other training programs that do role plays and stuff like that. Okay.
That's okay.
So it's a mixture.
Oh, you mean daily drills.
Daily drill, actually, and daily drills, actually, that's a good point. Daily drills is spectacular because I am not good at daily meetings. I don't enjoy it at all. And having the
Nobody does.
It's a chore. And so and in fact, there's like 3 stories wrapped up in this, but I had my sales manager's close ratio dip down. Daily drills was able to help me, and speaking with Miguel and having those consistent processes, I was able to really, with no work at all, identify what was affecting the close ratio, which was asking for the sale was not being done. And so having that training to be able to identify the problem, fix the problem. And then of course we had, a massive sales day yesterday, just by quickly being able to identify it. So prior to being a dudette, I didn't have those clear, consistent practices. So when things weren't working, I didn't know where to look. I would be like, oh, it's the leads. Oh, maybe it's, because it's holiday season. It would be all these other things. And because I wasn't confident in the process, I would listen to the feedback from my LSP, and I would start kind of justifying what they were saying. Well, yeah, that person was busy. They were at work. And so now I'm super confident in the process. I know it works. I know what to expect from the process. So if I have an LSP saying these leads aren't good, well, no, that's not true. I know that for a fact. And let's figure out what's actually not working so we can identify it really quick and fix it. Yeah. And so that, I didn't have that before. I have it now, and it makes it a lot easier. It makes it less of an emotional response. It's a data-driven response. Here's these calls that I pulled. You didn't ask for the sale. That's why you didn't get it. Right. So let's add this line to your remaining calls. magically you get it.
I love it.
And so it's not like a fight. It's more of like coaching.
Right. And then it doesn't matter. Like they're going to say what they're going to say. Kind of like telemarketers are always going to say, I got lots of voicemails and hangups or, or disconnected numbers. Right. Yeah, we know.
Right.
That's why you have a job. Right.
Right.
So if you didn't get that, then we wouldn't need you. So it's good that that's happening. Right. Like I don't say that to them, but that's the, that's the thing. And so it's the same with the producers. Everybody just wants to not be in trouble, right? Because that's pain. They want to avoid the trouble, but they also don't want to do any work. They want to do as little amount of work as possible. That's just humans, right? I mean, it's the same thing here. We're business owners. We work hard, but we work hard to figure out how not to work, right? And get paid the most for doing that. Like that's our thing. That's the entrepreneur. So with the producers, you take away all of that subjectivity by saying, like, this is the expectation. You got to do these things. We're going to listen to it. You didn't do it. You didn't do this thing. It's not I like you or don't like you or you're bad or good. It's just this didn't happen and it's your job, right? So instead of saying you, it's this, and then it's, that's it.
It's so true. It takes away that. And it's crazy because I remember hearing an agent say this years ago. You have to use data. You have to use data. Data doesn't lie. Data doesn't have emotion. And I didn't fully grasp it. And I would have these conversations with LSPs that ended up with both of us feeling bad at the end of it. This was not a good conversation.
Right.
And that's
emotional.
It's if somebody called me and said, "Hey, Rhiannon, you're not getting sales," I'm going to take that personally.
Right.
But
you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
You're like, what?
Exactly. Versus
they always think they're trying hard enough, right? Like that's
because they want it. They want it.
Right.
So it's like, I'm working as fast as I can. I'm doing as fast as I can versus the conversation not being that way. The conversation being these last 3 calls, you missed this step of the sales process. So let's get back to the basics and then we'll get your close ratio back up to where it needs to be.
Yeah. I love that because you could tie, like you said, they want it, right? Like as long as we can identify this person wants it, and then you can convince them that you have the keys to the car in that the ways, like the path, right? If you know the path to get there, then you can tie it to their thing, right? Like, I want to get it. Why do you want to get it? Because I want to make a bunch of money. Why do you want to make a bunch of money? Because I want to buy a house. Okay, great. So if I show you all of the things that you need to do on a daily basis where you don't even have to think, that will then allow you to buy that house. Are you all in? Yes. Perfect. So I'm going to hold you accountable to these things, right? This. You're going to have to do the script. You're going to have to make this many dials. You need this talk time. If you do these things, you will have the house. Are we in? Yes. Great. So when you don't do these things, we're going to have a conversation and it's going to be about these things not being met. Right. And then the action plan of what happens next, the consequences of not getting that. Is that fair? Yes. Great. Now, when you have that conversation, it's not painful, right? It's just, hey, look, this is the situation. Maybe you don't want to do this. Jason is a master at the foist, right? Or not the foist. I guess it's not a foist. It's just the talking them into quitting. Like basically it's not working out. Hey, it doesn't seem like you're into this, like I want you to be happy. And he does that whole thing and they bounce, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that way because I want them to realize it's not that we don't want you. It's that it's the wrong fit and it's not working for you. And that's the reason why you're not producing the kind of output we want. You're not following the stuff, not because what we're doing is wrong, because that's kind of how it's framed. It's because you don't like it. Like you don't want to do it. You're not in it. You're never going to. You don't care. Like, and if that's the case, then find something that you truly love so that you're super successful at what you're doing. And if I'll help you if you want me to help you.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Like it should be. They wait. Like, I mean, I get up in the morning and I'm excited for the day because we're going to do things. I'm going to be on the podcast with Rhiannon today, or whatever the thing is. It's like, yes, like I'm all stoked. Right. But the day that I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I don't want to do it if it's not enjoyable. Right. And passionate. Love it.
Right. That's so true.
Is that one of the old phones?
It's the AAV phone, whatever. I know. I don't know how to.
So then, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Touche. I don't know how to turn it off. I'm sure there's a manual somewhere that in a 12-step program I can figure out how to turn that off.
Or maybe there's not.
There's probably not, actually.
I just got a new headset.
Job aid. Job aid.
So true.
Then you click the link and it goes to page not found.
Oh, that's fun. All right, let's talk about recruiting. So I want to know, how do you recruit? And then how do you train them into success in your agency?
So I use a recruiting, can I say names and stuff?
Sure.
I use Team Hired a lot. I use, the company has a ongoing, it's fairly new, but it's where they're sending me resumes and they're out searching for resumes and then sending them to me. So I probably get, it's really low volume, maybe one resume a week or something like that. So that's pretty much it. That's all I do. I used to use Team Hired's. They have boot camp, which is to get them licensed. And I'm sure it works for some people. It did not work for me. It's too long. I only want people to get personal lines, and I want them licensed in a week. And boot camp is P&C, property and casualty, and it's a 2-week program. And I really feel like even with P&C, it's a 1-week study. It's 1 week's worth of study materials.
100%.
So I just do Kaplan, I think is what I do. And it's great. And it's interactive, whatever their top tier is, where you can have the online class, the live class, which is super important to take right before they take the test. And it's literally the same. Did you catch it?
I did catch it. And then it let it go.
What was it?
Gosh darn it. Oh, yeah.
A gnat. Fly?
A gnat. A gnat is a fly.
I'm not a big fly in the hand guy. Like, that's
really
gross.
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite.
In the drinking days, I probably would have grabbed it, smushed it in my hand.
I'll be impressed when you do it with chopsticks.
Yeah, chopsticks, Miyagi.
Oh, that's next level.
Mr. Miyagi died, huh?
Did he? Yeah, I think he did. Sad.
Was old.
So that I've only been doing that just my last hire. And it worked perfectly. And I'm like, why wasn't I doing this before? There's no reason to stretch it out that long. So that's what I'll continue to do.
1 week.
1 week. And we schedule day one, we schedule your test. So, you get in, you're starting that test or the study materials on Monday, and we're scheduling your test for the following Monday.
I love that. I love the clarity. Yeah, it won't get done. Everything gets pushed back. Oh, I can do it later. So two things I like about it. One is the clarity, right? You have the definitive date. You're doing it by this time, blah, 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 right? And then the other thing is you are setting pace for your agency. We move fast. You're going to come in. The first week, you're going to do this. The second week, you're going to do this. And if you start off with that, that gives them that instant win. Oh my gosh. And then celebrate that. You just got a very difficult test within a week. And celebrate it. And that's their win. That's a huge win. Absolutely. And a little trick that I learned with the testing, because they're not as bad as what they were, during the shutdown and stuff, but it can be difficult to get the date you want. So you just take whatever the closest date is, and then people cancel their tests. So if, for example, this last hire that I had, we couldn't get him in on that following Monday or Tuesday. It was Saturday was the first one. So we took it. And then I just looked as it got closer and closer, because you have to cancel within a certain time period, maybe 3 days. So 3 days prior to the date you want it, you just go in first thing in the morning and you'll be able to. Yeah, it's there because somebody's canceled. Somebody got cold feet. Now it won't be, because you just gave away the big secret. That's true. Don't do that if you're in Tucson. That's only for me and Craig. It doesn't work in Arizona, so you can do that in California. Yeah. Or anywhere else. Well, so we talked about the recruiting. Now, you touched on this earlier, and I even did so much as to write it down because it was this big of a thing. So you brought up the training and the onboarding that they had at your first place. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting because, that was much longer ago than starting at your current place, but you didn't really bring up anything about the training at the current place, right? Because it just doesn't stick out. I think that
solid training when you're onboarded is so vital, right? For a very long time in my agency, they'd come on and it was like a cluster F from the day they walked in, right? Like no processes, who knows, go answer the phone, just a mess, hot mess. And like the difference, like if I were to go back to one of those people who obviously no longer work here from 10 years ago and say, what was it like your onboarding? They probably wouldn't even remember working here, right? Because it was nothing spectacular. And so talk about that and how it's played a role in how you onboard people that you bring on and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. And it's not something that I was always good with because I don't like it. I'm just like, I'll do it myself. I mean, that's literally who I am as a person. I'll do it myself, and I've showed this to you once and twice. The third time you're asking too much for me to ask, show you again. That's literally, my natural state. But I've learned that they do need that training. And there's LSPs I've had in the past that had I invested in that training with them, they could have done a better job. So I've learned that. So yeah, there's a ton of training. They got to get through the training with the company just to have permission to bind. And then I just do one-on-one training with them until they get, I look at their close ratio. Your first step is learning the quoting system. The second step is getting your close ratio to an acceptable level, which is at least 20%. And so we're one-on-one until you're doing that. And I do daily drills. I mean, it's wonderful. It's like a way for them to start the day and be energized, to be hearing. It's super important for a new LSP to hear other people having success, and this isn't just this job that nobody can do, that nobody can close, and because you can kind of get in your own head. So it's super important for them to hear other people that are like, no, actually you can do it. You just need to do this, this, and this. So I do that. And then I still, we have a pretty cool system. I don't know if you guys use it, the sales diagnostic tool, SPD, sales performance diagnostic. That's really, really cool. And that has saved me a ton of time because I do still listen and I live listen a lot. I'll just have it on while I'm working so I can hear the calls. But the diagnostic tool is really cool because it gives me the analytics of, did they ask for the sale? Did they, so I use that a lot to kind of monitor, how many times are they bundling? How many times are they asking for the sale or offering, using the word discounts? All those things that are kind of important. It's really helped me to be able to identify.
What is that?
It's it's SPD. I believe it's sales performance diagnostic tool. If you go into
it's our carriers thing.
Yes, it's our carriers. Oh. Yeah, it's specific. Yeah. So if you have AAV,
never mind.
All right.
I'm just kidding. No, just joking, carrier. No, I do want to check that out.
It's cool. It's really cool.
That sounds awesome.
Because I do follow the pyramid. Yeah. And so there's, you got to go to like 3 different reports to get the talk time and the quotes and all that kind of stuff. So with this tool, it's, I still have to do that for the pyramid, but with this tool, it's all in one place. I can put what their goal is and I don't have to do any math. It tells me where they're at, if they're on track. But the biggest part is I don't have to listen to every single phone call. It kind of organizes it for me.
Does the pyramid have the Sphinx on it?
It does not.
Okay.
Bummer. So what are you doing for marketing?
That's what I'm missing. So I still do direct mail. We still actually have success with direct mail, with mailing the quotes, not mailing any letters, but mailing the actual home quote at their renewal. We do that, but really I just buy leads, a ton of leads from EverQuote. And that's where we get 90% of our sales.
Cool.
So let me ask you this one. Besides listening to this podcast, what do you do to keep yourself motivated, Rhiannon?
Well, so I told you all the things I don't like to do, but I really, 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 really like doing is I like paying bonuses and commissions. I've always been like that. Like when I was starting out, that's what motivated me, and what motivates me is having my sales manager be on pace to hit a nice bonus. And so when I convey that to him, like, this is my goal for you. is to receive this at the end of the month. I have weekly bonuses and I have monthly bonuses. And so that I really, truly am motivated by that. I love doing payroll at the end of the month and giving away money.
So what are some of the biggest challenges as we're going into this post-COVID world of insurance, and there's a lot of changes in the insurance industry? What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that are going to be affecting our agencies?
I think it's staffing. At least for me, it's always been my challenge, and I don't see it changing. I do want to add another LSP, and when I think about the time and energy it takes to put in to get somebody up to the pace that we want here, it's daunting to me. So that's going to be my challenge. I feel I pay a lot. I coach, I train, I do all of those things. So it seems like I should be able to find, somebody that would want that opportunity. But it seems like staffing will always be my problem. Getting somebody that I feel like I even have them come in and shadow, feel like I show them. And then once they actually get in and see what the job is, I'm not keeping them. So that's going to be my challenge.
Yeah. How about the number one thing you'd recommend to somebody that's coming in? Somebody's crazy enough to finish high school or graduate from college, whatever, and they go, I want to go into insurance. What would you tell that person besides run the other direction?
I know, right? I mean, I'm not just saying this. I would say become a dude or a dudette. This was, like I said, it was just learning kind of this process and putting it written down like on paper, not, figuratively, changed the game for me. If I had done this years ago, a lot of the problems that I've had, I wouldn't have had. My telemarketer is never sick. She doesn't miss work. She doesn't quit. She has the hardest job out of all of us. And she's here every day and she's accountable to herself. And then not only do I have a telemarketer, I have a telemarketing manager that there's times that I'm happy with my telemarketer's numbers, but the manager is not. And she's like, hey, this is what we're going to work on. And then all of a sudden we're getting a couple extra transfers a day. That is not something that I would be able to go out and hire on my own and get. And I really consider them an employee. If we have, we call them ghost prospects where they're like, yeah, just call me on Wednesday. And then we can never reach them. We send them back and magically the telemarketer gets them on the phone. And we really work interactively like that. And I didn't have that before. So I had thousands of leads just not being worked because I didn't have a process. I didn't have somebody that was calling on them consistently. And by having that telemarketer, who is literally my best employee, every single day making those calls, I'm not wasting leads and I'm feeding my LSP. So even if my LSP wanted to be lazy, they can't because the telemarketer is saying, hey, got a lead for you. And that would be my advice.
It's so interesting because you can go into a room full of agents and there could be this group sitting there and, inevitably some group of people will be complaining about their salespeople not doing anything or not trying hard enough or not doing any work. And then you could say, what kind of opportunities are you providing for? Oh no, they just have to hop on the phone and right. And it's like, that won't work. I mean, maybe that worked for us when we were learning, right? But we're also became the owners. Like these people aren't going to become the owners likely. And it's a shitty job. Like that's a tough job to quote all day, right?
Yep.
So putting them in a position where they can't be lazy. I love that. Like I'm going to tell Envy to make that a quote, what you said, because it's true, right? If they can't be lazy because you're giving them too much opportunity, then they have to be successfome, right? Yep. I mean, there's no other way. Because if they're not, then you're like, okay, look, I mean, you're over here where I'm just lobbing underhands over home plate. You should be knocking them out of the park all day long.
Yep.
So, right. And as a business owner, you're supposed to be eliminating any of the roadblocks in your agency, not just saying, well, you deal with it. Like we need to totally take away all the threats of the agency. And what other industry and what business do they just say, hey, bring me a whole bunch of people, like nobody does that.
Yeah.
Except
bring me your
scammy
grandma
businesses.
and your family. And it's like, no, what is this, Amway? Come on.
Yeah.
No offense, Amway. I'm sure you have great shampoo or something.
Well, if you're at the top of the pyramid, you're doing well.
Yes, you are. You got a pink Cadillac.
So true. Yeah, I got rid of a lot of the frustration. I would just, sales would be down and I'd see all these unworked quotes and it just,
resentment.
I don't have that problem now.
Right.
The leads are worked.
There was an employee that worked here. She always gave me a hard time. And we kind of let her go. It was one of those conversations,
Kind of.
Well, she let herself go, but it was time.
Jedi.
Yeah, we had the conversation. And so she left, and then she called back 6 months later and wanted her position back. And I said we weren't hiring at that time.
We aren't hiring you.
Right. Right. So she, I had another agent down the street that I knew that he wanted some sales agent at his agency. So I'm like, this lady, she's good, but she's a little hard-headed and hard to deal with. But so he hired her, and at the interview, she was going off about, because she would always give us a hard time with the meetings and the sales process, all the stuff. She just wanted to do it her way. And then in that interview, she was raving about how the sales process was so good here, and she didn't realize what she had until she left, and just all crazy. Yeah. Crazy. All the stuff that she was giving us a headache about, she was singing the praises of.
Wow. That's awesome.
She didn't work out of his office.
There's a theme here. LSD.
There is.
From office to office.
Yes. I wanted to bookend this whole conversation with that.
Yeah. It's almost like your own lead magnet for hires, right? You're able to attract people based off of giving them the opportunity.
It's
which
true.
Then retains your hires. So now you're saving money because you don't have that turnover, all because you spent the money to make it happen. It's like moving it over, right? The money is not emotional, right? It just does its thing.
Yep.
It's going to go to the place that's going to make it move the fastest.
It's true. And I feel like when people are, when I am hiring, I'm able to say that, there's no cold calling, because a lot of times, that's what they're expecting. This is a sales. Anytime you're hearing the word sales and commission, right. That's kind of an expectation of, well, what am I going to have to do? Right. And so I'm able to kind of set my agency apart a little bit and say that we have a full-time telemarketer that does right. all of that. Your expectation is to know the quoting system, to quote accurately and to close at a certain level. That's the expectation.
We quote 10 households.
Yeah. Oh, I'm 8. I know.
8. Yeah. 8's good too. 8 to 10.
Yeah.
I like to say 10 because then I get 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I do expect it every day. No missed days.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. 10 is where the wheels start falling off the car. And those quotes get shady. Shady and short.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think she's gone the distance. She went beyond the distance. We went into overtime. We're in OT right now.
Sorry.
We are in OT.
No.
Thank you. We appreciate it. You brought some serious gold today. And I think everybody can relate to especially some of those things that we spoke about at the beginning. And we totally missed the conversation of the sales guy that we were talking about at the beginning.
Yep.
We're going to have
the windows.
The windows.
Yeah.
You know what? And I was trying to remember how I would tie that into it, so it doesn't matter because we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
No, but
we'll have to do part 2.
Next time.
We'll do a part 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want Rhiannon to come back on this show, you better message us and we'll
text Craig at 520
714. Now you have 3 of Jason's cell phone digits, 714, and I'll even throw a bonus in at the very beginning. It's a 1.
Easy to find
Plus
out.
1
prior to
plus 1 for the country code. All right. Well, I am tuckered out now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rhiannon. This is awesome. Yeah, what a good time, and we will see you soon.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Ree.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, what are you still doing here?
Well,
while you're still here and while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
Yeah, if you weren't listening before, we took notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies did help Craig and I write over $10 million in premium in the last couple years.
And let me tell you, on this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the very same results.
Again, that's live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
And if you jump on with us, we are certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.